They laughed at her on the luxury yacht until a Navy destroyer honored her at midnight in the heart of the Mediterranean. The sun dipped low, casting golden rays across the blue waves. A luxury yacht glided through the water like a dream until it became a nightmare. Laughter erupted from its opulent deck, where a crowd dressed in designer attire mocked the lone figure standing at the helm. Her name was Mia. She wore an old tattered dress, her hair wild and windblown. To the elite, she was an eyesore. But Mia held something in her hands, a glowing, mysterious orb that pulsed with a light unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The laughter faded as the orb flickered ominously. A low hum echoed, sending chills down necks. People exchanged nervous glances. Almost as if the yacht itself caught onto the tension, the engine sputtered, and the frivolity froze. Mia's breath caught in her throat as she felt a shift in the air. The night seemed to hold its breath. What was this artifact? Why did it call to her? She took a step closer to the edge, heart racing, absolutely feeling like an outsider in a world that couldn't see beyond their gold-plated lives. Suddenly, a scream sliced through the silence. Everybody jumped. The orb exploded into a shower of blinding light, plunging the deck into chaos. Day turned to night in an instant. Just beyond the yacht, the water churned violently. A massive Navy destroyer emerged from the darkness, lights blaring, cutting its way through the waves with an authority that demanded attention. The laughter turned to blind panic. The elite, now terrified, pulled back. What did this all mean? The air thickened with disbelief. Daring to grasp the orb tighter, Mia was propelled beyond logic. For a moment, her heart soared with the possibilities. Could she harness its power? This thought was interrupted by a deafening silence that wrapped around them like a shroud. An unusual stillness replaced the chaos, and the destroyer's horn blared, a deep, resonating sound that echoed, honoring only her. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The Navy lights cut through the night, silhouetting Mia in a glow like an angel caught in dark times. She looked back at the yacht, at the people who mocked her just moments before, now staring in fear and confusion. They never knew, did they? They had no idea of the storm that had just begun. Seconds ticked away, and the orb began to pulse again, stronger, brighter. Would it reveal what she really was, or was it a trap leading to chaos? Questions raced through her mind, louder than the heartbeat drumming in her ears. The whispers from the crowd grew restless. What would happen next? Could she save them, or would their laughter prove to be the last joyous echo of their pompous lives? A glance at the destroyer and her fate felt imminent. The waves seemed to beckon her towards destiny. What was the true power of the orb? And what mysteries lay beneath the surface? Mia's pulse quickened as the orb's light morphed and melted into the darkness, casting eerie shadows that flickered against the yacht's polished deck. The air buzzed with tension, even the ocean seemed to hold its breath. Anxiety draped over the crowd, heavy and suffocating. One man, a well-dressed banker with an insufferable smirk, stepped forward. He seemed immune to the raw energy crackling around Mia. "What are you playing at?" His voice was a sneer, but he looked bewildered. Cracks in his confidence were evident, as if the darkness surrounding them challenged his sense of superiority. Mia straightened her spine. In that moment, she didn't just want to be accepted. She wanted to reclaim her power. "I don't know what this is, but it's mine." The orb pulsed, a heartbeat of its own, mirroring her courage. It felt like a jolt of electricity shot through her fingertips, locking eyes with the banker. The laughter turned to gasps. People backed away from the edge as if they were in the presence of a storm surging forward. A wave crashed against the side of the yacht, a warning, the destroyer loomed closer. Her heart raced. What were they delivering? A message? Mia. You don't know what you're doing. A voice came from behind her. Rachel, the yacht owner's daughter, who usually perched herself atop society's pedestal. The panic in her tone wasn't condescension, it was fear. You need to drop it. Now. But Mia's grip tightened. This orb had chosen her, illuminated her in the darkest of times. The power held an allure that made her feel alive. Maybe I know more than you think, she shot back, fueled by a sudden flame of daring. The crowd's murmurs swelled. What if it's dangerous? Someone whispered, while another yelled, get back. Mia's attention was drawn once more to the destroyer. Patterns of lights danced across the hull, as sailors appeared on deck, their movements sharp and urgent. She caught glimpses of men pointing towards her, voices carried away by the wind. The hum of the orb escalated into a low roar, vibrating through her bones. It felt like she was embedded in a rip, on the verge of being swept away. Then, without warning, an enormous wave surged toward the yacht, crashing against it with violent force. Screams erupted as guests slipped and stumbled, clinging to railings and one another in sheer panic. Water sprayed like daggers, drenching the deck. Brace for impact! Shouted a voice from the destroyer, but Mia stood transfixed. Time slowed. Suddenly, the orb burst with a radiant glow. Flashing lights enveloped Mia, sweeping away the chaos around her, pulling her into its brilliance. The world around her broke apart. The laughter, the fear, the uncertainty faded into a cacophony of vibrant hues, choking back disorientation. Mia began to float, like a feather caught in an upward draft. The orb glowed, and in its orb's embrace, she could feel a surge of ancient memories flooding her mind, the stories of lost civilizations, the power of the sea, the voices of those who had dared to dream, but the energy also felt destructive, wild, threatening to unleash chaos that could sink both the yacht and its passengers alike. As the Navy crew stepped forward, tension thrummed in the air. They were trained, disciplined men, but here stood Mia. What would she do with this newfound strength? She faced the terrified crowd on one side, the looming destroyer on the other. The ball of light pulsed on her palm, urging her forward. With her next breath, Mia had to decide. Control it? Unleash it? Or risk everything for the sake of those who had once laughed at her? Her gaze darted from the terrified society elite to the unwavering Navy sailors, each waiting for her next move. What she did next would change everything, and time was running out. Would she choose freedom or chaos? Before she's even had a chance to think, the orb surged brighter, a blinding beacon in the darkness, and a voice echoed within her, a voice of an ancient spirit, whispering, "Awaken your destiny." What fate awaited Mia as she stood at the crossroads of light and darkness? The orb exploded with a white-hot brilliance that enveloped the entire yacht, drowning out the panic-stricken voices and screams that had filled the air moments before. Mia could feel the energy coursing through her veins, pulsing in sync with the orb's light, urging her to embrace its power. For a split second, the world around her faded, reducing the chaos to a mere whisper on the wind. She hovered there, weightless, suspended between fear and exhilaration. The orb seemed to absorb the tension around her, turning the gasps of horror into reverent silence. Everyone on the yacht, the polished elite, who had once dismissed her, now stared wide-eyed as if she were a goddess descended from the stars. But inwardly, Mia was a storm of confusion. What did the ancient voice mean? Destiny? Did she even want to unravel it? The allure of the orb was intoxicating, but what about the lives hanging in the balance? She focused on the Navy destroyer's crew, still positioned on the edge of the boat, their eyes fixed on her, reflecting both worry and unbending resolve. Control it. A voice echoed from the deck. It was a captain, a square-jawed man whose authority radiated strength. Channel that power. Don't let it consume you. Mia's heart raced. She took a breath, feeling an invisible tether anchoring her to the orb. An urgency thumped like a drum inside her, demanding she act. She could either cast the orb away and surrender her gift or channel its force into something greater, something that might save them all. The yacht lurched again, caught in the undulating waves that seemed to mock the previous calm. But beneath her feet, it felt less like a deck of the yacht and more like a crude canvas upon which she could paint her potential. Mia steadied herself. Closing her eyes, she focused, feeling the chaos within her settle. She drew in the collective energy of those watching her, their fear, their skepticism, and, burning beneath it all, a spark of hope. A world unfurled in her mind, a vision of possibilities, colors exploding like fireworks. Together we can shift the tide. Mia shouted, her voice ringing out, slicing through the anxious murmurs surrounding her. Trust me. The orb flared again, and as if responding to her clarity, the swirling energy transformed into a beacon, cascading ribbons of light toward the destroyer. For a moment there was no fear, only unity. She felt the soldiers respond, their focus sharpening, determination igniting in their chests. A figure stepped forward from the crowd, a tall woman who had always looked down on Mia. Now her features twisted in disbelief. You're insane. You're going to kill us all. But Mia's gaze remained steady. No. I'm going to save us. With a resolute breath, she released her defenses, releasing the orb's energy in a spiraling wave. Light enveloped the yacht and the destroyer, fusing their fates in luminous hope. The reaction was instantaneous. The waters roared, pulling together as if recognizing the catalyst of its own upheaval. The ocean surged at Mia's command, crashing against the hull in a rhythm that felt primal and powerful like the heartbeat of the world itself. Shouts erupted around her, astonishment mingling with fear, but she could hear the shift. The tide was turning. The looming destroyer began to reposition, aligning towards the yacht, its crew focused, ready to face whatever storm approached. Everything hung in the balance for a heartbeat. Then, whispers danced along the deck. Half awestruck, half terrified, the guests began to lean forward, seeking courage from the orb's glow that had woven its spell around them. What now? Rachel's voice cut through the moment like a blade, questioning something more than just Mia's command but the faith of everyone present. But before Mia could answer, a blinding flash erupted in the distance. From the destroyer, a powerful laser shot streaked across the water's surface. The orb flickered in sync with it, as if the two divine forces were echoing each other. A shout against the dark, the cacophony of waves and questions poured over Mia's senses. Again. Suddenly, she sensed a shift, a presence lurking at the fringes of her current reality. Shadows materialized, dark specters rising from the depths, drawn by the blaring light. What were these beings? Could they be the spirits warning her? Or something worse, an unseen force that would not rest until the orb was snuffed out entirely? Mia stood, heart thrumming with adrenaline. She had made a choice, but now, she was faced with a new possibility, a confrontation unlike any she had imagined. The forces she unleashed were beyond her control, and as new shadows danced on the water's edge, she wondered, what lurked beneath, seeking to claim her power. The delicate balance of power hung in the air, and now, she could only wonder, what would she unleash next? The shadows twisted, their forms solidifying into ominous shapes that thrummed in the darkness. Mia's heart pounded in time with the echoes of the mysterious energy surrounding her. The orb pulsed brightly, illuminating the fear-gripped faces of the guests who had once mocked her, their expressions now taut with dread. As the formed specters hovered closer, they began to whisper, their voices a chilling song that danced through the air. Power must be balanced, power must be claimed. Each word felt like a blade, slicing through the tension, igniting an uncontrollable fear in Mia's belly. Stay back. She shouted, though the confidence in her voice wavered. The swirling energy around her flickered in response, as if sensing her uncertainty. Time stretched out painfully, each second dragging like hours. From the destroyer, the laser beam fired again, cutting through the night with blinding precision. It struck the ocean, sending up a plume of water that shimmered under the moonlight. The shadows recoiled, momentarily shrinking back, as if the blast had dispelled their dark intent. Hit them again. Use the firepower. The captain's voice shouted from the deck, urgency straining his tone. But how could they attack a threat that was wrapped in her own energy? Mia felt an overwhelming pull to the orb, a connection she couldn't deny. This is not just my fight, she yelled, turning toward the guests. I need you to join me. Believe with me. A few hesitant souls stepped closer, hesitant but willing to bridge the gap between dread and belief. Mia reached deep within herself, igniting the shared energy. The orb flared into a brilliant white, releasing circles of light that spiraled around her, casting long shadows of the gathered figures. The presence of the dark shapes fluctuated, like a wave caught in a storm. They reacted to her strength, their whispers rising into a screeching cacophony. You think you've mastered power? It is you who shall be consumed. No. Mia screamed, the walls of her mind slamming against their spectral threats. She forced a deeper connection with the orb, feeling the chaotic energy blend as she manipulated it like paint on her canvas. No. The woman from the crowd shouted, clutching her arms in a primal fear. They'll drown us. Mia didn't waver. Summoning courage, she drew on the collective spirit of those gathered. Channel your fears into me. We can defend ourselves. Slowly, she felt the presence of doubt begin to lift. A few of her fellow passengers started to nod, and even Rachel stepped forward. As their fears merged with her will, a blinding beam of energy shot from the orb, piercing through the darkness like a lighthouse cutting through heavy fog. The shadows quivered, their forms failing under the intensity of Mia's reclaimed confidence. They swirled but couldn't withstand the force. She rallied around herself, but at that moment, a new roar echoed across the water, slicing through the loud whispers. The destroyer unleashed heavier artillery, the booming shockwaves merging with the light Mia had harnessed. Explosions erupted from the sea, as if the ocean was retaliating against the dark, wild forces. Yet, in the midst of chaos, new shapes lunged from beneath the waves, fierce and hungry. This was not just a battle against darkness, they were now also contending with the wrath of something far more ancient. The sea stirred, waves crashing in violent defiance. Suddenly, shapes resembling colossal serpents began to rise, drawn by the energy unleashed. Mia's heart sank. This was no mere shadow, these were elemental forces, ancient beings that guarded the very heart of the ocean. Fight with me. Mia shouted, desperation clawing at her throat. But the tangible fear of the crowd started to spiral again. The Navy crew, fighting valiantly on their ship, had their eyes wide, struggling to concentrate on their orders amid the tidal surge of chaos. A man at the helm cried out, "We can't hold them back forever. This is turning into a nightmare." As the elemental beings twisted in concert with the chaos, Mia realized she needed to tap into something deeper than fear or hope. In the eye of the storm, she had to confront what haunted her. Could she truly control the sea? Or would its fury drown them all? The moment hung heavy, the churning abyss teetering on the edge of revelation. As Mia braced herself to respond, a deafening roar erupted from the water, and the very fabric of the world around her trembled. What would she unleash next? The answers felt tantalizingly close, yet dangerously out of reach. Mia's breaths came in sharp gasps, each one like a stab of panic. The colossal serpents loomed, their scales glistening like slick black oil under the moonlight. She couldn't shake the feeling that they were more than mere manifestations of her fears, they were real, ancient, and angry. The ocean churned violently as if echoing their wrath. "Focus, Mia!" Rachel shouted, her voice cutting through the turmoil. "What do we do?" What could she say? Was there a strategy when facing such primordial anger? Mia's instinct urged her to fight, to push back against the shadows now spiraling in tandem with the sea monsters. A surge of desperation racked through her, urging her to do something, anything to turn the tide. "Join hands," Mia commanded, rallying those around her. She felt their terrified energy, a collective pulse of dread. "We need to stand together. Believe in something greater. Believe in us." Shiv, a skeptic friend from earlier gatherings, looked unsure. "This is insane. We're just people against that." He pointed toward the serpents. But that's exactly it. Mia yelled back, her voice tinged with a blend of anger and urgency. We are more than just people. We have the power to connect, to reach the energy of this place. The sea responds to us. As another bolt of chaos surged, she felt the orb at her center pulsing with potential. It was as if it held the key to everything, and she needed to unlock it. She closed her eyes, images of their shared humanity flooding her mind, laughter, tears, victories, and losses, moments that defined them. Each image renewed her strength. The shadows shrieked as the crew on the destroyer discharged yet another round of firepower, illuminating the skies with bursts of light. But the serpents were relentless, bucking through the water like steel traps snapping shut. Channel the energy. Mia shouted, feeling the orbs pull deeper, urging the people around her to tap into their core. Let us forge a bond. Don't let fear dominate us. With the chaos swirling, the orb began to glow brighter, resonating with a fierce brilliance and sending out ripples through the dark water. Light burst forth, threading between Mia and her fellow passengers. It shone, tendrils reaching out to intertwine with the elemental beings, charging the air around them. The leading serpent paused mid-lunge, seeming to recognize the energy coalescing before it. Its glittering eyes locked onto Mia's, questioning, yearning. The dark whispers quieted, almost intrigued. Power must be balanced, power must be claimed. The phrase echoed through her mind, shifting now into a haunting question. Take control. Mia urged, pushing through her mounting fear. We're not the enemies. We seek harmony. She felt the orb surge at her command, the combined energy rising like the tide, ready to crash against the onslaught of shadows. Chaos erupted behind her, the ocean swirling violently as another blast from the destroyer lit up the scene. The resultant explosion sent waves cascading wildly, a reminder that they weren't just battling shadows, they were at the mercy of nature's wrath, the very heart of the earth's fury. The serpents slowly began to swirl around her, their scales shimmering like ethereal glass, absorbing the light that surrounded them. They began to settle, their angry thrashes muted, settling instead into a watchful curiosity. But just as Mia felt a flicker of hope, an enormous wave surged higher, towering over the gathered figures. An ear-splitting roar rocked the very foundation of the night, and then everything went still. The tension was palpable, much like the moment before a storm, the air thick with unsaid words. What could possibly happen next? Mia's heart raced, dread and anticipation coiling tightly within her. There was a key moment at hand, a choice to be made. Would the ocean yield to them? Or would it respond in angry retaliation, plunging them all into darkness? In that suspended moment, darkness danced at the fringes of her vision, daring her to falter once more. What would she choose? A single decision could change everything or lead to their downfall. A heartbeat stretched into an eternity, and then the wave crashed down. A tsunami of sound and fury engulfed them, the shore quaking beneath the tidal onslaught. Mia squeezed her eyes shut, her heart pounding in unison with the roiling sea. The world turned into chaos as she braced herself against a surge that felt like doom wrapping its cold hands around her throat. She had rallied her friends, had called on the energy within them. But now, as fear clawed up her spine, she wondered if it could possibly matter. Would the ocean swallow them whole? Instinct guided her, and she felt the stirrings of that pulsing orb within her, urging her to fight back. No! She screamed against the deafening roar. Hold the light. They stood together, fingers interlocked, and in that chaotic embrace, something began to shift. The light flickered and flared, visibly intertwining with the darkness, a violent tug-of-war. The serpents flicked their massive tails, sending frothy waves cascading away from the center, and amidst it all, the voices in Mia's mind melded with the crashing waters. Power must be balanced, power must be claimed. Across the tumult, she glimpsed Rachel, her face strained but determined. Mia, we can't hold this forever. The waves thrashed, threatening to break their bond. Mia focused, anchoring onto the orb's brilliance between them. We can do this. We're not alone. The light intensified, and an almost tangible bond formed among her friends. The serpents, now swirling around them, seemed to hesitate, their rage counterpoised by this new energy that flickered like a lighthouse beacon cutting through a storm. With desperate resolve, Mia drew on memories, the warmth of home, the tenderness of friendship, the pulse of life itself. Each moment coalesced into one rhythm, a heartbeat that resonated not just in their chests, but all around. Then, as if driven by a sudden gale, the water surged, throwing them off balance. The serpent loomed close, tightening the spiral, its glistening scales refracting light in every color of the ocean. It honed in on Mia again, and terror surged through her, laced with an unexpected understanding. "It's trying to connect." Suddenly, immense voices filled the air, reverberating from the depths. "Claim your truth. Claim your balance." The walls of reality around her blurred, the very fabric of existence seeming to bow before the ancient beings. Mia felt the orb pulse wildly, and in the eye of the raging storm, she met the serpent's gaze, steady and penetrating. "We don't want war," she shouted, her voice drowning even the tumult. "Help us. Show us the way." As if responding to an ancient prayer, the ocean's waves began to recede. The serpents twisted and turned, their massive bodies starting to untangle from the hostile knot they had formed. They hesitated, uncertain yet curious, as Mia's calling reached deeper. What felt like a shift in time caused the surface of the water to calm slightly. A glint caught her eye, a shimmering light under the depths. "What is that?" Rachel whispered, her eyes wide with wonder and fear. Mia's heart raced. "I think it's the key to understanding." Before she could react, the massive leading serpent surged forward, its head emerging close enough for her to feel the rush of wind from its breath. There was an intensity in its eyes that held a promise and a challenge. "Mia!" Shiv shouted, his voice cracking. "It's coming for you." "What now?" The enormity of the moment unfurled like a bloom of dark petals entangled with light. Could she reach further, tap into whatever power lay beneath the waves? Tension twisted through the space around them, and as they stood on the cusp of understanding, shadows began creeping back, menacing and insistent. Will it be surrender or revelation? The voice whispered eerily, the echoes entwining with her doubts. Mia stood frozen, torn between yearning for enlightenment and the urgency of survival. What awaited beneath the surface? Would they unlock a secret, or be consumed by their fears? Trust the light, she thought fiercely, but the question still hung in the air. Electric and relentless. As the serpents swirled close, every fiber in her being sensed they were on the brink of something profound. In that moment, as darkness threatened, what choice would she make? The serpent hovered inches away, its breath warm like a gust of summer wind, tinged with the salt of the sea. A cacophony of thoughts echoed through Mia's mind as she stared into the creature's endless, spiraling eyes. Choices proliferated like waves in a storm, each one heavier than the last. With every heartbeat, she felt the orb's power swell. It pulsed in her core, a radiant beacon in the swelling darkness. Trust the light, the whisper echoed in her mind again, soothing yet urgent. Mia knew this was her moment, she couldn't pull back now. Help us, she pleaded with the serpent, her voice raw and desperate. We're not your enemies, the serpent blinked, its long, sinuous body twisting beneath the water as if pondering her words. The silvery scales glimmered, casting reflections like scattered stars on the restless sea. An unyielding silence fell, the howling winds quieted, and the tumultuous waves stilled. It was as if all of nature held its breath, waiting for her next move. Suddenly, the shimmer beneath the surface surged. It broke free, an otherworldly entity shot upwards, illuminating the water around them with an ethereal glow. Mia gasped, squinting against the radiance. What emerged was no mere creature, it was a translucent form, half seahorse, half wisp of light, floating gracefully before them. "It's so beautiful," Rachel murmured, awe spilling over her fear. The glowing entity hovered near the serpent, melding into the shadows of its massive body. Their energies intertwined, a fusion of light dancing alongside darkness in a twisted ballet. Then came the voice, melodic and haunting, filling the air with its cadence. "Balance is not to be taken, but to be understood. Mia's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Only through harmony can one truly wield power, the voice continued, weaving through her consciousness. You seek understanding, yet reap only conflict. Connect with the one you fear, let go of your doubt. The moment hung thick with uncertainty, like a tightrope shimmering over a chasm. She wanted to scream, how could she possibly forge a bond with a creature of nightmares? But deep within, she felt a surge of warmth, an echo of belonging, a reminder of the light she had fought to preserve. Mia. Shiv snapped, the fear returning to his voice. We can't stay here. We're being surrounded. He pointed frantically at the shadows, now creeping closer, tendrils twisting and flickering within the depths. The serpents twisted menacingly, their bodies churning the water. The lead serpent's attention was slipping, its curiosity waning. Fear gripped Mia's heart, but she refused to back down. Wait. We're not done. She shouted, forcing her voice above the rising tide of panic, locking eyes with the leading serpent once more. I can reach it. I can show you. Light flared from the orb around her, brighter than before, illuminating their faces in a specter of white. Together. Mia barked, gripping her friend's hands tighter. In a split second, she felt the connection anchor deeper. The light pulsated again, then shot outwards, enveloping the serpents, igniting their scales with a vibrant glow. The shadowy figures receded ever so slightly, retreating into the depths as the serpent's fierce features softened, intrigued. But a deafening roar echoed from the water's abyss, a new presence snarling its discontent. The shadows seemed to writhe in response, like venomous smoke unfurling through the water. What is that? Rachel yelled, eyes wide as terror struck her voice. I don't know. Mia shouted back, feeling the pressure of time slip like grains of sand through her fingers. The monstrous roar surged again, ripping through the air as the sea trembled beneath them. Every instinct screamed to flee, but Mia's heart hammered with a fierce resolve. She was so close to understanding, to bridging their worlds. Stay with me. She urged her friends, feeling the power within her turn into an electric current. But doubt flickered. What if they were wrong? What if the light led them into a trap instead? As the roar crescendoed, the water around them erupted in a swirling maelstrom, shadows rising with instinctual urgency. A shadow with a shape far more terrible than anything she had yet encountered began to rise, setting eyes on Mia with unbelievable hatred. The moment hung on a blade's edge, suspended between two opposing forces of creation and destruction. Would they find clarity, or succumb to darkness before they had the chance to blossom? The storm threatened to reclaim them once and for all, and in those chaotic seconds, Mia realized that her choices could change everything. Do I have the courage to step into the unknown? She wondered, on the brink of a precipice. And then, from the depths, a piercing, swirling light erupted. What would they unleash when the shadows fell? The brilliance of the swirling light enveloped them, a blinding flash that cut through the encroaching darkness, making the maelstrom shimmer like a diamond against a backdrop of despair. Panic pulsed in Mia's chest, she could feel its cold fingers closing around her heart. Yet, under the pressure, something primal ignited, begging her to hold on. Mia. Shiv's voice sliced through the chaos. He was staring into the depths, eyes wide with horror. What is that? We need to go. Ignorance screamed louder than fear. But as the shadows twisted and darted, coiling toward them like serpents hunting their prey, she felt their fury boiling just beneath the surface. The creature emerging was massive, its silhouette darkening the waters like a storm cloud, its eyes glinting with malice. Trust the light, trust the connection, the ethereal voice whispered again, threading through her thoughts, shaky but insistent. The shadows rushed, slithering through the tide, while the radiant entity glowed ever brighter, defiance shimmering in the radiant dance of light. She turned towards her friends, their distorted faces labeled with uncertainty. We can do this. She yelled, her words desperate as they clashed with the howl of the storm. We can't hold it back alone. The orb isn't enough. Rachel screamed, her voice pinched with raw anxiety. Together. Mia shouted, gripping Shiv and Rachel's hands tightly, feeling their warmth like a lifeline. We have to unite. A tremor ran through her, they might be pulling shadows toward them, not saving them. But deep in her gut, she felt it. A course she was compelled to take. As she channeled the orb's energy into their clasped hands, she focused on the seething mass beneath them. Every ounce of her will surged forth, drawing the light into a spear aimed at the nothingness around them. Come to us. We don't want to fight. We seek understanding. Mia's heart raced, thundering like a war drum as they stood on the precipice of two worlds. The water exploded in a violent eruption, revealing its depths, where darkness coiled and writhed like a living creature. The beast, massive and vile, towered over them, scales glinting, eyes glimmering with age-old torment. It was nothing like the serpents. This thing was a storm incarnate, forged from anger and despair, spitting venomous waves of rage as it expanded its territory. Light, sunshine, hope. It roared, the voice shattering the surreal concentration. The shadows around it seemed to recoil, like prey caught in a hunted gaze. Mia's grip tightened. She felt the orb pouring power into her soul, filling the void of fear. Join us. She begged into space, voice carrying through the chaos like a beacon. We want to share your pain. Show us. The creature shuddered, a ripple of confusion breaking through its grievous visage. For a terrifying moment, the ocean stilled. Was there a crack in its formidable armor? Then, a piercing howl echoed again. The beast lunged toward Mia, jaws snapping, teeth jagged like frozen daggers. A force imbued with endless despair. Her world spun into slow motion. Let go. Shiv shouted, rage bolstered by fear. He pulled her away just as the tendrils lashed out. Splashing water erupted around them, spraying like shards of glass as the creature's nostrils flared wide, a foul stench filling the salt-laden air. Mia staggered back, panic washing over her. I have to. The light surged again, absorbing the shadows, wrapping around the beast, turning its ferocity into confused whispers. Release me, the spectral voice lamented. But as Mia reached deep within herself, determination rising, darkness swallowed the sound. She inhaled sharply, realizing the moment was slipping away. It's not enough. Rachel cried, backing against the swell as shadows crept closer. What else can we do? Mia's pulse thundered as her mind raced. The connection, the bond, they needed to embrace it, not just challenge it. We have to confront it. She shouted, hope ripping through her doubt, but even amid the blinding light, the darkness pulsated defiantly. What will happen if you face the shadows? The echoes questioned, reverberating against the twisted calm. From the depths, a dreadful silence fell. Only a single question lingered like a ghost haunting the dark waters. What if it chooses to destroy instead? The weight of unknown consequences tugged at Mia as she stood frozen on the edge of everything she had ever feared. Would they harness the light, or plunge into an abyss of despair? The sea trembled, the shadows shifted, and then, a new echo of sound surged from the depths, a cry that both terrified and enchanted. The echo surged again, enveloping their senses like thick fog, vibrating with a raw energy that made Mia's skin prickle. Shiv and Rachel held their breath, fear etching deeper lines into their faces. The tension stretched taut, teetering on the edge of catastrophe. Do you feel that? Shiv whispered, his voice trembling as if he expected the shadows to answer back. Mia nodded, her heart hammering against her ribcage like a trapped bird. The deeper they dove into the light, the more the shadows began to writhe, as if testing their resolve. It's like, they're responding, she said, barely above a whisper, each word carefully weighed, like walking on broken glass. It's not just fear, it's anger. Rachel shouted, her voice rising against the winds swirling around them, the chaos almost melodic in its insanity. We need to face it, but how? What if showing them our light isn't enough? Shiv choked, his eyes darting around as if expecting the beast to leap from the depths at any moment. What happens if it's more powerful than we thought? Mia's thoughts raced, each idea flickering in her mind like a dying flame. She could sense the beast was both ancient and potent, a living legacy of lost souls. We have to meet it where it hurts. We can't just throw our light at it and hope, she said fiercely, shrugging off dread. We need to understand its pain, hurt it's felt. Suddenly, the ocean roared, a wave crashing violently over their heads. Cloaked figures coiled among the shadows, whispering fears that swarmed like wasps. Mia staggered, nearly losing her footing, yet the orb pulsed fervently in response, a reminder of their shared purpose. Together, we need to reach deeper. She yelled, grasping Shiv and Rachel's hands tighter. We need to feel its rage, turn that pain into something powerful enough to break the cycle. The beast's jagged silhouette loomed, a monstrous shape at the edge of their reality. With every breath taken, the scent of salt and decay filled their lungs, a bitter reminder of what they were up against. Darkness seeped closer, curling around them, trying to choke out their light. Can we do it? Rachel muttered, the tremor in her voice betraying her. Mia felt it too, something primal tightening around her spirit. Doubts flooded in, but she pushed them aside. We have to. We've fought through so much. It's our turn to speak to it, to let it know it's not alone. In that moment, the waters frothily parted, and the creature's eyes locked onto hers, shimmering like obsidian gems. Scream, it hissed, the words twisted with regret and rage. You want to understand my pain? Then scream, let it out. And just like that, an overwhelming wave cascaded over them, an emotional tide dragging their hopes and nightmares along with it. Mia inhaled deeply, feeling every ache and loss caught up in the beast's multitude of voices. I refuse to be afraid, she shouted, her words fighting against the tug of despair. I am not your enemy. We are here to share your pain. The shadows paused, that slithering uncertainty in the air crackling with a kind of tension that could snap any moment. The beast hesitated, glimmers of doubt flickering in the depths of its feral gaze, but just as the air turned electric, laughter echoed from the darkness. It was a guttural sound, mingled with malice, as if 1,000 souls found humor in their struggle. Foolish girl. It roared, the voice resonating deep, mocking, and then the laughter turned to a screech that echoed through the abyss. You think you can change me? The trio's hearts sank, fear blaring in their chests, but Mia felt a spark ignite within. Together. We can. She cried again, the urgency pushing her forward. Show me your hurt, let me carry it with you. But the shadows swirled menacingly, gathering with renewed fury. Suddenly, the ocean erupted once more, and painful cries filled the air, cries of 1,000 souls lost in the depths. The beast lunged, darkness unfurling like a storm of chaos, and Mia felt the air grow thick around her, binding her to the moment. What would happen if they failed? Light burst from within her and surged outward, but the arms of despair wrapped tighter around them. Was this connection enough to pierce the malignancy, or was the creature simply waiting for the opportune moment to strike? And in the middle of chaos, a startling revelation sliced through the air, sharp and clear. What if we are not the saviors at all, but merely the next victims of its rage? The waters roiled, shadows encroaching, while the storm of uncertainty loomed larger than ever, and Mia stood trembling, heart in hand, wondering, was choice still theirs to make, or had darkness already chosen for them? The colossal beast loomed above them, its form more fearsome than anything Mia had imagined. It radiated a darkness that threatened to swallow them whole. Cold fear gripped her heart, but somewhere in that storm of uncertainty, a flicker of courage sparked. Together. She shouted, squeezing Shiv and Rachel's hands even tighter. We need to stand together. We can't let it tear us apart. The light from the orb pulsed in response, a gentle thrum echoing in the twisted shadows. It was as if the orb recognized their desperation, fighting to illuminate the depths of despair surrounding them. As the creature shrieked, the ocean roiled. Shadows flicked around them, dark tendrils reaching hungrily for her. Mia could feel the weight of everyone's fear pressing down on her. It was suffocating. But all at once, clarity struck. This was not just her fight, it was theirs. With newfound determination, Mia exhaled, her breath stealing. I will not let darkness win. She yelled, voice echoing over the crashing waves, igniting a fire within her core. Your pain will not consume us. We're coming for you. A peculiar silence fell upon the swirling chaos, as if nature itself was curbing its breath, waiting. The tempest around them seemed to pause, anticipating the next move as if sensing the energy Mia rallied within. Then, against the howling abyss, the light around them intensified. Colors exploded outward, illuminating the waters, casting away the embers of despair swirling in the shadows. The cruel laughter from the creature faltered, a tremor of surprise in its voice. What power do you think you wield? It hissed, a brimming malice intertwined with a hint of curiosity. Mia met those obsidian eyes with strength surging deep in her heart. The power of connection. We can bridge the gap between light and dark. She let go of her fear, channeling every ounce of strength, grief, and longing. Lifting the orb high, she embraced the pulsing power and sent the light streaming toward the beast, threading their energies together with hopeful resonance. Feel our hope, our resilience. A beam of radiant energy burst forth, spiraling toward the creature. It engulfed the monstrous form, illuminating the writhing darkness that marked its very existence. For a fleeting moment, light and shadow danced, hesitantly meeting in an embrace that shimmered with uncertainty. Suddenly, the creature's roar echoed louder than the booming waves crashing around them, a guttural sound of both agony and surrender. The shadows lurched forward, swirling desperately around them, but instead of hitting and tearing, they rapped ever so delicately against the orb's brilliance. What is this? It lamented, its fury folding into a hushed confusion. Understanding, Mia replied, forcing confidence into her voice, though a tremor laced her words. We embrace your darkness, not to conquer it but to unite. To show you you do not have to face this alone. Even as she spoke, she could feel doubts surfacing, whispering warnings of the potential doom. But they had come too far to retreat now. Together. Her friends were by her side, echoing her thoughts and connecting their energies in a bond forged through trials, hurt, and hope. Trust what you feel. Shiv exclaimed, eyes burning with determination. We're listening to you. Show us your pain. Rachel added, urgency resonating through her tone. Let us help you heal. At that moment, the creature hesitated, simmering darkness vibrating with uncertainty beneath the brilliant illumination. The fury that once defined it now conflicted with vestiges of pain. Mia could feel it. She reached out with her heart as she grasped the truth: this was a being of sorrow, not merely malice. Remember, she pleaded. True strength comes from understanding, from unity. Together, we can break the chains that bind you. In reply, the shadows recoiled slightly, warily retreating before the burgeoning light. The furious roar softened into a mighty sigh, a breath that shook the waters. With a final surge, Mia poured everything she had into the light, the orb bursting with warmth and vitality that felt like sunlight breaking through a storm. She let go of fear and doubt, channeling her shared memories of joy, love, and connection back into the dark. The shadows shrieked, but it was a sound resonating deep and soulful, as if the echoes of countless lost souls found their voice. The water surged again, but this time it wasn't chaos, it was catharsis. The beast surged forward, revealing deep, shimmering colors in its depths, merging with the brilliance emanating from Mia's orb. In that pivotal moment, dawning clarity ensued, cascading like waves across time. Light consumed all, a vibrant dance of energy, dark and light entwined, rising from despair into understanding. The creature's dark fury began to unravel, threads of ancient regret mingling with newfound warmth as it let out a haunting cry that rang like a bell. I am not alone. It bellowed, surrendering to the light, its shape diminishing within the embrace of unity. The shadows woven around them dispersed, melting into the ocean beneath. The weight that had burdened them lifted, replaced by a feeling of hope radiating in every heartbeat shared. As quiet settled over the waters, Mia breathed deeply, her friends around her, awash with trembling relief. The beast had transformed before their eyes, shedding darkness for light. The mystical orb fluttered, pulsating softly as the stillness stretched, holding them in shared understanding. With heavy hearts yet hopeful spirits, they finally stood united, facing the horizon as dawn broke over the Mediterranean. Mia felt a tremor of warmth wash over her, gratitude blossoming from the depths of her very soul. Gone were the laughing elites, the dismissive gestures where once stood judgment, now lay sheer awe. She had reclaimed her power, joined over sacred waters with those once lost to cynicism and fear. Together, she whispered. We can face the light and dark. It's all part of life. And so they began to walk, towards the dawn, toward their future solidified by faith, their bonds unbreakable, and shared stories written in the salt-sprayed air of the new day. All around them, life awaited. This was not just an ending, it was a beautiful beginning. And now, for you, here's what to do. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. This is the moment. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your participation means the world to us. Let's connect, let's grow, and let's embark on these adventures together.